Hi guys, welcome back to the Guilia Quadrafoglio, which is quite a common introduction considering I just bought a Guilia Quadrafoglio. Still almost not quite tipped that 1,000 miles in this, and you are joining me today having just been to Piston Head Speed Matters Sunday service, which has been absolutely awesome, and despite my best efforts to get a picture of this in front of all of the BMW competition range, they wouldn't let me do that. So what I want to talk to you today is, having almost done 1,000 miles worth of ownership in this car, what are the things that I hate about it? And I've got to start off by saying there's not a lot I hate about this car. There really isn't. It's genuinely a fabulous car, and obviously I'm going to reinforce my decision to invest in one of these. Invest is probably the wrong turn of phrase, but sorry, I'll turn my sat nav down. There's a few little things that do bug me about this car, and it's only fair I tell you what they are. So where do I start? There's no particular order to this. In fact, there's one that is particularly more annoying than the others. It is less around hate and more around things that I would change if I could. Now, the seat belts, although relatively comfortable, are fixed. I can't find it here in this position here, so you can't move it up or down, and I find that just a little bit irritating. And like, there are very few things I felt like they haven't thought through in terms of design, but that is one of them. By the way, none of this should stop you buying this. None of this. In fact, actually, I was just talking to somebody about this car at the meet, and they were saying, doesn't it hit that sweet spot between what BMW offer in terms of road holding and bonkersness, and the out and out power and roguishness of a C63? And I think that's probably a good description. So these things are just minor things that I think I would want to do differently on this car. Now, one of them is happening right now. Indicators. It did it then, but quite often they do not cancel, and my god, it is indicator irritating. On full. I didn't just touch it, I pushed it all the way up so it clicked. It's starting to feel like those QVC adverts. It slices, it notices. Okay, I've changed lane. It's still indicating. It's still indicating. It's still indicating. You have to cancel it. Just why doesn't it cancel? It's a little bit annoying. It's just annoying, and I spend my life going, oh, I'm one of those idiots who's still indicating right, and I'm not actually indicating at all. So, no, I'll show you again. So if I do just a light tap, can't believe I'm actually demoing this on a video. Exciting stuff, eh? So it does it, but only for like 2 or 3 seconds. I'll let these guys go past and show you again, but just stay stuck on. Just infuriating. So there's my, I mean, that's almost not enough. There's like, I don't know, they need to change the algorithm or whatever on these indicators. There you go, full indicators on. If this guy moves out of lane, he keeps saying he's going to turn off. I move over. Most cars would take that as a lane change and move the indicator off, but it just doesn't. So you then have to flick the other way to cancel it. It's not a biggie, I know, but it's just like, just these little user experience things, they just don't work as they should. But actually, that is my biggest bugbear about this car. Do you know what? If that is it, then great. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Here, I'm going to give you a quick positive. So I'm just going over some of these, what I like to refer to as chocolate block road humps. I hope I don't prove myself wrong going over these ones, but the one thing about this car, and especially compared to my previous car, is it's not as low. So especially because it's got this active aero splitter at the front, so if you don't know, it's got a carbon fibre splitter, and at a certain speed, and I don't know what, it actually moves down and forward slightly to give you additional downforce. Whether I can tell the difference of when it comes out or not, I don't know, but I think it's just continued grip, which is awesome. Like, the one thing this car has is oodles and oodles of grip. the Pirelli P0 Corsas probably have something to do with that, but what they will be like in slightly less summery climes, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, let's get back to some of these things I don't like so much. Next on my list is beeps and bongs. If you might have seen on some of my previous videos, this car does alert you about a lot of things. Now, one thing it does is, and I've never had this on a car, is the lane departure warning. So it's really good because I get the blind spot indicators in the mirrors, which is awesome. However, I can turn off the lane departure warnings by just pushing this stalk here, but it does seem to be overly sensitive, so I might, and you can change some of these things, but it does go off. But that's just one of them. Oh, there she goes, bong, 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 bong. The next one is, it alerts you to every black spot indicator, camera, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not actually quite sure how I turn that down a bit. Which is kind of a good thing, but it's just constant sometimes if you're on particular roads. And that is just a little bit irritating. I think the only thing I would want on that is to be able to, do you think indicator's going to do it now? Is be able to actually just tone it down a little bit, or just be able to fettle a little bit with the settings, which I have done a bit, and maybe I need to do more. And look, you know, they're kind of negatives out of positives, these things, because it's good that you get alerted about these things to make sure you're kind of like keeping your driving in check. I get it. It's just a bit annoying. So there we go. Look, I'd be keen to see what you guys want to hear about this car as well. There's so much to tell you about it, and it's just difficult to know where to begin. I'm just talking to the people at this event, and I love it. I mean, obviously, you know, I'm going to reinforce my decision to put this much money into a car, but like, I even love things like the seats. They're half leather, half Alcantara, and actually that's really nice. Like, it's much nicer than being sat on, like, in really hot summer's days. I find them really comfortable. They are just like, it's just really well built and such a nice place to be inside. Part of that is because there are things on here that simply I'm just not used to, like things like Apple CarPlay and stuff like that, which came in the newer model. But it's really difficult to find negatives. My final thing on today's little insight into the Guilia Quadrifoglio is a slow speed maneuver thing. Rear dip mirrors. So if you don't know what that means, basically when you go into reverse, usually the passenger side mirror tips down so you can see the curb and you don't curb your allies, although that's not stopped me in the past, but that's user error rather than anything else. This car doesn't have that. I find that incredible when they've put in things like lane departure warning as standard, blind spot monitoring as standard, like full electric seats as standard with these ones, but no rear dip mirror. However, there is a hack around this. I've had to hack my car. I've had to do that. Want to know what it is? Let me tell you. Might have misled you slightly there. What I do is, you have 3 settings on the preset seats on this car, and what I've done, and I can't take credit to this, so thank you to Peter at the dealership who gave me this idea, is I've set number 2 to have a slightly different seat setup, but also to dip both of the mirrors down. So I just changed the seat setting and they dip down so I can see them. So I've kind of got around it, which isn't bad. Oh, here's another thing. Yeah, something, yeah, you can't hate it for this. I've seen people say they're getting 30 miles to the gallon out of this car. 30. No chance. I have not got anywhere near that so far. But, you know, time will tell. However, you spend a lot of time at the petrol pump. I filled up quite a lot. The tank doesn't seem all that huge, if I'm honest. It doesn't really give you a lot of oh, thanks, you just take my lane as well, cheers, thank you. It was actually really difficult to make about this car, because so far in my 4.5 weeks of ownership, 1,000 miles in it, it's been really difficult to have any fault with it. It's turned out to be everything I expected. Like, people love it. Like, the reaction it gets is amazing, and I appreciate all of you guys who are giving me support for moving to this car. It is also the rarest car at any car event I've been to so far. It's the only one there, and I kind of like that uniqueness. I didn't realise it would be when I went for it. I bought it because I just loved how it drove when I first test drove it. There is one thing I didn't mention, is the exhaust. Now, when you get over that 3,500 revs in dynamic or normal, especially in dynamic, it makes a lovely noise. It's actually not too asbo. You can hear it in the car enough. Few pops and crackles, maybe not quite enough, but I don't think it's worth the £2.5 grand price ticket for a full Miltech exhaust system. You can make the valves open. It's just a valve system all the time in this car to get that delicious note. So you're not having to drive hard everywhere, which is probably why my fuel efficiency isn't great. But you have to be in dynamic. So dynamic opens it up all the time. Now, this is a known problem, issue, gripe that people have with this car. Is it worth changing the whole exhaust system over? I just don't think it is. I really don't think it is. But to get it up to that level, like, so it sounds nice, is just, you can't do it everywhere without looking like a bit of a one of them. Anyway, so there is an option on this. There are some people who do aftermarket buttons that you can use, so you open up the valves and you can have it open constantly, and they have memories and they do that, and that is in serious consideration for me, because I think it just lets the car down a little bit. Looks aggressive. You're pulling out of a car park, doesn't sound very aggressive. Not that that's where you want to be. So anyway, there we go, guys. A little bit of insight into the Guilia Quadrafoglio. Another bit of a driving vlog. But anyway, wanted to give you a bit of insight. What else do you want to know about this car? Put in the comments below. I want to hear what you think. Are these things that would bug you? Are they enough to make you want to do something different? Like choose a different car? I can't see that they are. I think there's enough positives in this car that outweigh it. But that's for another video. Take care, guys. Thank you for watching. Please remember to comment below. I try and respond to everything that goes in there, and a thumbs up always helps as well. Cheers, guys. Bye, bye.